In this video, we will discover UV mapping. So UV mapping, here you see there is UV editing in this section. You can imagine in a big studio, in a big 3D studio, all this stuff here is one job. Okay, so for example, some people, they will do only UV editing or only texture paint or only shading. And so it's a big part to understand UV editing, but I will try to show you the basics like this. If you have to unwrap a model yourself, you will be free to do it easily. So let's go into the UV editing interface. I will just adapt the screencast keys over there. I will just go here and maybe manage a little my shader to add cavity over there and put a matte cap into it, and that's it. Okay, let's go. And now what I would like to do is show you that with Suzanne. First of all, let's add Suzanne. You can see that when you add an object by default in Blender, it will be already unwrapped. So if I go into Suzanne here, you can see the result in 2D. So why we do that? Maybe you didn't understand well, but if you go into the shading, when we did use texture sets, when you use a texture with pixel informations behind this 2D geometry, each face, so for example this face here, we can just tweak here this part like this. We can select the same on the right and the left side, on the 2D and the 3D view. And so like that, you will understand that this face will be projected over there. And if there is an information behind this face, pixel information, it will take this pixel information. So that's why it's very important to unwrap models when you want to use UV into your shaders, for example. So here, what we want to do, it's showing you that you can select by edges as well, by faces here, okay? And you can do already a lot of stuffs in the UV. You can transform, move, rotate. It's almost the same. When you do L, you have an entire island that goes with you. And when you select with this part here, when you don't enable this, when you select a part here, for example, with L, you will have everything that is selected over there. For example, the eyes are not selected, they will not show up there. And if I select them, I will, it will show the eyes, for example, here, unwrapped. So, so here we can see how it works basically with Suzanne. We will see how to define these islands and how to create them ourselves. But for now, let's have a look on different models that we have. So let's, for example, add a UV sphere. A UV sphere, as it says, it's UV unwrapped as well, and it will make the same kind of effect that we can have on Earth map, for example. Okay, so here, if you add an Earth map behind, then, for example, let's do it. I will search that. So here you can see on this website that you can download directly a map. So I will just download maybe that map over there. Okay, so I have this map. I will just download this image. Okay, so it's in my download section here. And what I will do, I will just open this image now. Just this one. Okay, let's go. We have this. So here we have this nice image that we want to use into that model. So what we can do, we can go into the shading, add a new shader, add this texture here to this shader. Just click and drag like this. And look, it will map perfectly into that. Because here, what we have, if we go into the rendered or half rendered view like that, we can see that this information over there in here, Africa, okay, it's the same point here than here. So if I move that one in the 2D view, you can see the result in the 3D view. It would move the informations behind. So that's why it's important to understand this system and how it works, basically to make good unwrapping. So basically, when you unwrap a model, what is good is to not have overlap. Sometimes there are some exceptions, but yeah, basically it's good to use like that. And let's go and dive into another model, and I will show you why we have to unwrap manually, because you will tell me all those models are already unwrapped. Yeah, but if you add a cube, for example, okay, let's add a cube and let's go without this texture. And okay, we go into edit mode. We have the shape of the cube that we did when we were child, okay, when we were kids. We did some stuff like that with paper and scissors, okay, to make a cube. But if I change the topology of the cube here, okay, let's go into and add this maybe, and add another one here, okay, and maybe extrude this like that. Let's go like this, and maybe let's add a new loop over there. Just create a kind of basic complex, more complex shape like this, okay. Now if I select everything here, you see that there are no changes of the global shape here. So I will have to unwrap everything, because this, for example, this face over there is just an edge here, and it will not possible to catch informations. So everything that did not move in the beginning will catch good informations, but the rest will be a little strange. If I add just this texture over there to show it, okay, so here, and add here just the same shader into my object, okay, the shader with the texture into it, we will see that here everything is okay, it's mapped correctly, let's say, but here we see that the informations are really not good. So, and everything is very stretched because of that. So we'll have to unwrap everything back to make it. So when you have just a basic shape, a basic primitive in the beginning, it's already well unwrapped and you don't have to worry about. But when you change this by modeling, so you can imagine if you model a robot, or if you model an entire character or an animal or whatever, or even a chair, you will have to unwrap that. So it's important to understand that to continue this. And sometimes you need to have the texture behind, sometimes not, but basically we will see that there is a dedicated menu into Blender for unwrap a model. It's the U section, okay? So the U will help you to unwrap, okay, and will help you to mark seams. There are two ways of making unwrapping in Blender. You have the projection, let's say 3 ways. You have the smart, okay, like everything will be projected automatically, but you don't really control what Blender does. It's made on an angle. You have the projection, and it's project from view or cylinder projection, so yeah. And you have the mark seam, and it's the one that you have to learn to make good unwraps. So first of all, let's imagine here, for example, in a cylinder, okay, let's imagine here where to put the seams. So the seams will be the edges that you will select to can have this kind of cutting in the end. Okay, so if I want to make this kind of shape, this kind of unwrap shape myself, here it's made by default, but let's make it together just with the manual here possibility. So I will select this and I will click on U and mark seam. And you see that when I mark a seam here, it appears in orange and stays in orange red like this, okay? So I make a right click, and like this, what it will do, you can make a right click actually with mark seam, it will make the same. And right click, mark seam, okay? So now what it will do, without that one first, if I try to unwrap the model now, what it will do? So I will just use the U unwrap here, angle based. And we can see that these two faces are well unwrapped, okay? But we can see that the rest is not well unwrapped because it needs another seam. Imagine this in paper and that you want to cut somewhere to flatten it somewhere, okay? It's always this that you have to imagine. Sometimes I use other images, but it's a little horrific actually. But let's imagine you hunt an animal and you want to flatten the skin of the animal where you cut. Yeah, I know it's difficult, but it's a good image. I never do this myself, but it's a good image to understand how it works. But you can imagine this in paper, and yeah, where you cut to flatten everything. So it will be there, obviously. You will have a full cylinder, you cut in the center here, and you can unwrap everything. So here I make a mark seam. You can clear seam, as you can see, if you made a mistake. And now if I select everything and use the U unwrapped angle based, you can see that now it's unwrapped well. And then you can select what you need and change the location of it, okay, if needed. And the goal is to take as much as possible a pixel behind the geometry. So maybe something with SX here. There is no Z, so it's just X and Y. And basically now we have something similar than before, okay? And so I did it manually here. So for more complex shapes, we will see that it will be a little more complicated, but already you know that you can mark seam and unwrap if needed. If I make angle based, not the angle based, sorry, but Smart UV project, the automatic method here, so it will create something like that. So it will take half of this, and yeah, make a shape like this. But you see that maybe there are little overlappings here. It's not really perfect actually. I really don't like this one for more complex shapes. Let's take another example here with a sphere, an icosphere, and I will just divide this like that, just to have some nice shape. So maybe manually, if you want to do this manually, you can just click and drag here with control click and select this loop over there and come until the beginning over here, okay, and make right click, mark seam, and maybe you cut into another side. But what it will do here, if I unwrap, so Blender will make his best to fit what I did ask. So this is a good way to understand that if you have some stretching, it can be a little complicated. And for this, we will create a new texture, and I will show you how it works here. So I create just a new texture, and it will not be a color blank, it will be a UV grid. As it says, a UV grid creates this kind of pattern just to see if we have a nice unwrapping here. How to see if you have a good unwrapping? You just go into the shaders, select the texture that you did create, and click and drag it into a new material here, okay? And now you will see that there are some stretching here. I come back into UV editing and come back into here, rendered view. So we can see that these parts here have little here little squares, and here it's bigger. It means that there is some stretching. We can already see it here that the triangles are more little here, so the squares under will be bigger. So it's a good way to see if you have a good unwrapping or not. So maybe it needs more cuts to de-stretch it. But let's come back into our other unwrapping technique. So let's go into here the U, and it will be this time Smart UV project. So it will make some cuts like this, okay? You can see here. So it's based from different angles every 66 degrees, okay, and make something around this. And so, yeah, it's not really easy to control this. With the seams, you can really control everything. But usually it doesn't stretch that much. So in the end, you have something like that, but with a lot of cuts that you didn't control really. And these cuts, they can show sometimes. So that's it for the basic, how to start to unwrap models. And we will see into the next videos that there are, let's say, two ways of thinking to make shapes, to unwrap shapes like that. So we will see just basic shapes, geometric shapes like this. We will continue to explore this, and after we will see this with an entire character to unwrap this character. So that's it for this video, and we will see into the next video how to unwrap basic geometric models.